It's great to be with you. Happy New Year. Can you believe it? 2025, here we are. Okay. So we just want to welcome you to just feel the soles of your feet on the earth beneath you. Take some deep breaths in and deep breaths out. You might want to have little objects for those that like to work with tabletop constellations. You might enjoy having some small objects to use as representatives of different things in your life. So gather your trinkets, gather little stones. You don't have to do this. It's going to be available to you just on the virtual screen to be able to out picture and look at representatives. But if you're somebody who likes to kind of touch and have more of a tactile feel, it might be nice to have some little trinkets that you can work with and have operating as representatives. So just taking a deep breath in, why don't we close our eyes and just arrive and allow yourself to breathe, to be with all that is here in your heart. Just feeling the soles of your feet press into the earth, feeling the pulse of your heart connect with the pulse of the universe. Connecting to the ley lines of the earth, the crystalline layers beneath your feet, the light of the sun or the galaxy above, the spinning orbs of light that move through your body. Feeling the energy body that is moving through your form. In every moment of every day, you have energy coursing in and through you. And as you breathe in and you breathe out, let yourself drop in to the awe and wonder of time. Regardless of your emotions, regardless of your capacity, regardless of your intentions or lack of intentions, hope or despair, time continues. The earth continues to spin. Nature continues to root and rise, to die and bloom. Life moves forward, and so do you. Your body continues to breathe. For some of us in the last year, we watched life end for those we love. We watched a descent occur, maybe a death journey, maybe a loss, maybe a trauma or a pain or a suffering in the last year. And for others, it was a time of awakening, of wonder. You may have had some of the most fun or funny memories where you laughed the loudest. So just take a moment to breathe with how you gaze into the history of 2024. As the spiral of time turns, where is your orientation? If New Year's is a threshold and you are its portal, can you allow yourself to arrive to the infinite moment of this opportunity at this workshop where you take this incredible human form that is yours, this vibrating, pulsing field of energy, and transmute it to attune to become a portal for release, for awakening, for envisioning, where the tips of your fingers allow light to move through them, where the pulse of your heart unifies with the infinite cosmic blueprint of what is possible, where the bones in your body and the epigenetic inherited memory can transform and alchemize, release and renew. This is your opportunity. We scheduled this workshop on the day that the most people take their life. This is the highest rate of suicide, is today. For many, many, many years, research has shown this week between Christmas and New Year's, and particularly after the first few days of the new year when life feels like it hasn't changed and yet everyone wants to begin anew. Some say it's been enough. So in the field of seeing with your heart, this workshop is called From Shadows to Radiance. Ancestral healing and visioning for a bright new year, because together we are going to weave the traumas of those that we carry in our clan, in our pack, in our tribe, in our lineage. Weave them into the light of your radiance, those of you that stood here and that live and that survive. You are descendants of those who stood in the season of the North around hearths, around winter harvests, and they made it through the dark times. Everyone on this call is a descendant of somebody who made it, somebody who had the resilience to get through the fallow times. Who tends your hearth? So taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and just feeling in your body, who tends your hearth? As you become the portal, the infinite portal of transformation.
Your whole life, you have been immersed in the information field of indoctrination, propaganda, and initiation into the worldview of the dead universe. That you're here means that you haven't succumbed to it. That the light beyond the electronic information field reaches you and inspires you and guides you. But it is working against the institutions of the world and their worldview that insists that you are a speck of dust on a speck of dust in an unconscionably large, infinite space of emptiness. And that everything that created you did so purposefully, purposelessly, randomly, blindly, and that your life has no meaning. And that your body is run by the laws of physics and biology and chemistry. And that your mind is an illusion produced by those processes. And it's not that you have to believe this. If you're here, you probably don't believe it. But you are saturated with it because you can't get thrown into the the pool and not get wet. And you're here because there is a light in your heart. There is a light in your soul that cannot be extinguished by that indoctrination, that knows that there's more to the story, and not only more, but the more is vastly greater than the story that you've been told. And that the radiance in your heart that's connected to the radiance of the universe, the light of the stars, the ancestors, the angels, the spirit guides, the life force of the earth, the mycelium network, the connected mind of the earth and of humanity and of the universe moves through you and is always whispering, there's more, there's more, there's more. And for many of you, you are waking up to the light, sometimes being almost blinded by it. And asking this question as we take this turn of the year, and the signals, the media information waves that are hitting us are getting ever more dark and despondent and frightening. How do we not only keep the light alive in us, but grow that fire of radiance within us and actually be able to live our lives more brightly, with more meaning, with more purpose than we ever have before, and with more support and better community. And so we're here to dip our toe in a different pool, a pool that's filled with light.
Just taking a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And as you come back to the space, just opening your beautiful eyes to the people who have said yes to supporting and allying and standing with you, also as portals, as transformational embodied alchemists today. So before we light the hearth, which means a candle and matches that you may want to have ready before we step in to kind of light the hearth of our radiance. And again, you don't have to get up and go get your candle and matches. You can just feel that you have a burning hearth within you, and it's here. It's here in the starlight of your body. But before we do that, we want to just invite you to stand up and to stand as yourself first, if you can. If you are in a space where you are not able to stand, that your body isn't able to move in those ways, just feel your feet on the ground, or feel kind of an anchored, rooted space and a stance of I exist. You know, whether it's through your chair or through your physical form, just I exist. I'm here. I'm standing in this place in life, in this body, in this incarnate form, physically. And we're just going to take a moment to just acknowledge this new year as a threshold. And if you can, turn around and look at where you just came from. Look back. And as you breathe in and you breathe out, feel what has made your mouth drop in awe and wonder in this past year? Just allow that awareness to come present. If there were moments, maybe one or two moments, where awe and wonder arrived. And this body accompanied that moment, that experience. Just let your body remember the awe, the wonder. And if you can't access it, it might be helpful to step back a little bit. You might step into 2024 in the last year and feel, maybe close your eyes and drop into remembering moments of awe.
If this is a struggle for you, acknowledge the struggles that you faced, the hardships, the challenges. Some of you, we have over 100 people here, so we have a range. Some of you had great 2024s with a lot of achievements and accomplishments and healing, and others had really challenging, shitty, tragic 2024s, punctuated by loss and fear. And there's a place for all of it in all of this work we do. Everything is included and everything given its place. So if you have difficulty finding that place of awe and wonder, just take a moment to acknowledge what wasn't so wonderful and give it a place, and then see if you can open up again to the awe and the wonder that often at the darkest moments, the deepest part of the trough, the lowest level of hell is where we receive the initiation, where we find the light. So you may have encountered it there.
And then allow yourself to move and feel, who stood by you in times when tears rolled down your face? And who did you laugh the deepest with? Just welcome who you traveled with in the last year. Who was present? Who accompanied you in those moments? And you might have to physically move to sometimes I have to physically move in my body to actually adjust my orientation, adjust my viewpoint, like step into another space to feel, who did I laugh with? Who did I share joy with? And in the hardest times and the hardest moments, who did I lean into? And this includes those in non-ordinary consciousness. Who did you pray to? What ancestors did you feel who had their hands at your back in the deepest and most alone spaces? Who did you know was watching over or was there beside you? So just allowing those presences to make themselves known. And if the answer is, again, I'm so deeply alone, were there elements? Were there trees? Were there herbs? Were there butterflies or birds? Were there four-leggeds licking your toes? Who was present that held you and accompanied you? What ocean waves rolled in and touched your fingertips? Or offered lightness to your body when you felt like the densest, heaviest being on earth? What elements were there to remind you of your buoyancy? And for us to go into the space of the shadow, it's actually important that we first connect with our capacity for awe. To dive into the depths of darkness, we gather our resources first and ask, who can stand with me? in the widest realms of joy and the most challenging moments. And we remember we are a continuum of consciousness. We do not stand alone. We are a collective. We are a network. We are all connected in some way. So the first step to any ritual is to remind ourselves we are actually standing in community always, in every moment of all time. So just feel the wingspan of the feathers in your wings that helped to lift you or helped you to soar or dive deep if needed.
Feel the gratitude for that part of you that is always able to meet the voice of doom, the inner critic, the part of you that your little roommate companion in your mind that is just always bringing you down in one way or another. But as you make contact with this part of you that is resilient and continues and is inspired and beautiful, allow those parts to come together. Almost all the time, that inner voice, a critic, that voice of doom, it's almost always the voice of an ancestor, of a parent's parent. It's speaking to us from some antiquated, archaic place where a resource was lost. And the part of light that is within us is actually healing for ourselves and for that voice. So keep a place and make a place for both. And in time, we can actually cultivate a healthy relationship with that critical voice within us. That it doesn't have to become a sense of our identity, but actually what it is, which is a voice from an older time, from a person who preceded us, who lost their way in their own life. And that our being able to find our way in our life is healing for both.
And taking another deep breath in and turning back around if you're still facing 2024. Looking to 2025, recognizing this doesn't just happen. Of course, the calendar year makes us think it just happens, and yet there's this space in between. So maybe just writing down or jotting down some of the things you want to remember about what you just felt, that you would actually draw with you and accompany you as you move towards 2025, like the gratitude, that maybe the traits or the characteristics of what you experienced. I had a friend who just really met me with loving kindness and acceptance in a time of deep shame and challenge. And I remember thinking, this was so beautiful to be met like this by my friend. How can I take that trait and like invite it to grow inside me so that I have that always? How can I meet myself with that level of loving kindness, that acceptance, that space? So maybe just if there was a person there, ask yourself, what was it about their presence that prompted you to just call them in, to remember them? And how can we carry those imprints, those memories of being met in those ways? How can we carry them with us into our new experiences? So just noting, however you noted, Noting the imprints. This is a conscious effort. It's not positive psychology because actually the memories are imprinted in your cells. So remembering, like, and growing your capacity to remember the imprinting of joy, of love, of awe, of wonder, of companionship, of care. Dan, why don't you introduce yourself while they're jotting these things down? We didn't say who we are, we just began.
A great idea, Emily. Uh, welcome everyone. I know a lot of people here, but there's a lot of new faces, people that uh, are meeting for the first time, even in these little window panes. So I'm Dan Cohen, and together with Emily, we're the co-founders of Seen with Your Heart, which is, I think it's in its 12th year now. And we have been uh, learning and growing with this material for a long time. We started with a combination of psychotherapy and family constellations. And the beautiful thing about the practice of Seeing with Your Heart is that it's more than a brand. It's actually just a quality of the human body. It is the organ of perception that exists within our body that can perceive the consciousness of the universe that runs through us, the quantum information field, it's called in scientific terms. And in spiritual traditions, it goes by many, many names. Every spiritual tradition has a name for it. But they're basically describing the same thing, that our human bodies are part of, connected to, transmitting into, and receiving from uh, the information field of the universe. And so by seeing with your heart, the amount of information, the amount of learning is so much vastly greater than what we can ever know. So every time we teach or we facilitate a constellation or we lead a class or lead a training, we are learning so much more than what we know. It is so far from a finite teaching. And we do this through one-to-one work, facilitating constellations, through our alchemical constellations training. And I teach a class called Science, Myth, and Magic, which is one of my favorite things to do in the world. And it is a class where we look at, it's basically the history of why we are so fucked up and why we blame ourselves. It's looking at the long, deep history of why people think that they're no good and their life won't amount to anything and they have no power. And whatever your inner voice is telling you, or however you feel that this is not working for you, this life is not good for you, that message comes from hundreds of years away. This has been a long, long process of indoctrination that goes back 1,000, 2,000 years. And I'm a historian. I'm a historian, especially of alchemy and how alchemy became nuclear science and nuclear science became quantum physics and quantum physics reinvented Seeing with Your Heart, which is an ancient form of knowledge and technology that goes back forever. But through the modern period, it was extracted from humans, especially from women who were the most capable, through the witch hunts, through insane asylums, madhouses, through all kinds of oppression. The oppression that you feel as a woman if you just try to open your mouth and you feel your throat close. So we're looking at the history of it and what the antidotes are using constellations and exploration. And every class we learn something that I never knew. It starts out with a little bit that I know and it ends up far beyond that. So I think that's enough about me. Um, kick it over to you, Emily.
Okay. So I'm going to offer my introduction and invite you to do the same. Just yourself energetically in our circle. So I would say, just the first thing is I'm going to just show you these matchboxes. I don't know if you can see myself. Maybe I need to spotlight.
Yeah, one of your spotlight.
So you can see a little matchbox. And it's got on the side like Mod Podge. And then on the inside, it's kind of vision boarded like this. So I've been allying with fire for a number of years now. And before we begin the call, I want to light the hearth and welcome the ally of fire. And so I like to count like 30 matches or 31 matches or 28 matches each month between one new moon to the next new moon. And under the new moon, I seed intentions for that cycle. And then each day, let's say one of the intentions in the last year for me was around exploring the wilderness in the soul of every person. Like not just be interested in the person and what they do and who they are, but like what helps them thrive? What is the wilderness in their being that, like, as they anchor in to the earth and they root with the sky and they open to the sunlight, how do they grow? And every unique human has this kind of natural, rhythmic, organic growth. And so one of my intentions always is to like hold something for myself, ally with an element around that intention, and then hold it for another, because I am a mirror. I am you and you are me. So just as I'm introducing myself, you're introducing yourself. Just as Dan introduced himself, we're introducing ourselves. We are all connected. There are things he said that you resonate with and that ping in the threads of your heart. So for me, I'm interested in the wilderness that can grow when we release conditioning, when we release fertilizer, when we release the pruning shears that have occurred for our entire lives, that somebody has pruned us to make us look a certain way or be a certain way. But what would we look like? How might we grow if we were actually rooted in the most like sourced, intuitive, instinctually natural pulsing rhythm of our own unique nature? And what is the pathway to not only know that for myself, but when I greet another, to tend their heart in that way? This comes from a long time as a psychotherapist, as a systemic family constellations facilitator, as a woman who has studied, sacred wisdom traditions of many sorts, of energy medicine and the synergy of sound healing. And the thing I am looking at is that animal body within us. I'm always searching for the animal body within us that knows how to align with the pulse of the universe, to awaken the original blueprint of who we are and our species as a collective. Because what you're going to do today is a radical movement towards your full-bodied yes. I'm looking at somebody on the screen who has a descendant who's imprisoned. As she chooses her freedom, he will feel it. That's the systemic brilliance of our humanity. As we choose liberation, we offer it to every single person who is vibrating in energetic connection with us. Despite their conditions, we choose it. Lynn Lidbury is here on the call, and she wrote something and shared it with us yesterday that was one of the most beautiful poems I've ever read. And it was really around liquid light. And despite the way her body is in relationship with her light, she is choosing her light, tending her own fertility journey of birthing movement and ease and grace in the new year. And so I have always been a seeker of ourselves as this portal, and particularly an incarnate collaborator with ideas. Ideas are going to find their human collaborators. And there are ideas of the universe that come through our muses, our guides, our ancestors, the stars, the sun, the mountains, that are looking for somebody to dare to have the audacity and the confidence to agree, to like agree on some level to the power of that idea and to allow it to awaken within them, knock down the doors of their heart, flood open a new pathway of possibility, and move in a way that influences themselves and everyone they're in relationship with. And to me, this is like, you know, you could say I work with visionaries and entrepreneurs and alchemists and intuitives and empaths, but the truth is I work with the pulse of humanity and how do we awaken to heart and to love. And I love New Year's and I love solstice and all these times that everyone in our collective is like, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to show up to this? How do I make a change? It's like an opportune time. It's a real opportune time for us to look at one another, to see that we're on a collective journey. And it's a time when we've gathered together as a whole to say, you know, how can we do this in shared community, not just on my own? So I welcome you to ally with different elements, because there's something about nature that just doesn't hold back. And so it helps when you bring in fire, you bring in water, you bring in any kind of these elements to align with your practices, because it does not hold back and it will invite you, like a fire starts, whether you're ready to start that morning or not, the fire begins. So how can you align with the pulse of nature and bring it forward? I'm going to post, I'm trying to make some videos on Instagram that have instructions for further instructions of like how you can do these things. So if you really want more of the further instructions on what I just shared about the match boxes, I think Instagram has them. I think they're also in Facebook, getting shared to Facebook too. But anyways, there will be more practices, but I would love to hear yours as well. You can comment and share your images with one another. That's our closest forum right now for the best way to share with you all these different practices. So we're going to set up the Wheel of Life and invite you to do a little bit of generational alchemy today. Dan talked about his Science, Myth, Magic, and Mystery course, and the course that I offer is Generational Alchemy, Returning to Flow in Life, Work, and Relationships. And we're looking at all these different areas of your life that are moving and you're seeking to bring into flow. So I want to give you, we want to give you kind of an appetizer to what we're serving up in January in these like many different events that are coming up. This is just, an entree, appetizer, whatever it's going to feel like to you of what we're flowing in. And whether you're in our courses or you're not, just connect in through the ethers and the ley lines, join us. You'll feel the movements and the mobility. So Dan, do you think we can go to the exercise?
Yeah, I think now's the time, Emily.
Okay, so let's light our fire. If you haven't already, take out your matches, take out your lighters, and I would just welcome the portal within you with the resources that have accompanied you to stand around our hearth. Call in the spark. So there's a little honeybee here. Maybe other people, if you have candles, maybe hold them up. Just take a moment to see the sparks around the world. Yeah, just feel what happens as you look, as you see you're not alone lighting candles. Just like the feeling in your heart, notice that. And then through our own eyes, let the ancestors who have lit fires and gathered in community for ceremony, transformation, initiation, intention setting. Allow them to look back at us. See them seeing you. Dare to get a little uncomfortable as you breathe for a moment. Let them look through your eyes. Who's here?
You can even just connect with one person. If you stare at one person, they won't be self-conscious that they're being stared at. That's the nature of Zoom. They may be able to feel you, but they won't be self-conscious about it. You don't have to be hold back. But look at one person and radiate energy from your heart to that person, and without them knowing they're being looked at. They'll actually feel it because we enter these pathways of magic of consciousness. And you can even switch. You can pick a second person if you want and send them some energy. And if you feel like you have a deficit of energy, just imagine that there's people looking at you right now, sending you energy from their heart, and you can just receive it. If you are in need of more energy, then you can radiate out, allow yourself to be a recipient. And these could be total strangers to you, and you don't even know that they're doing it. But your heart knows, because through these pathways of consciousness, we're all connected all the time.
And as you look, see the portal. See all who's staring back at you. Parents, grandparents, siblings, children, great-grandparents, soul, their favorite trees, their favorite animals, important sunsets and sunrises. It all stares back. You are a continuum of time and imprints and energy. Let the transmission land. And just recognize that title from shadows to radiance can happen simply like this. We could be complete right now, really. By your stare, somebody may feel like they just moved from shadow to radiance because they were met in the gaze of light, in an open-hearted willingness to just look at all of it without an agenda. You know, we don't really have an agenda except to stare. I love that.
I want to try some magic.
Okay, go ahead. I love magic.
Here's some magic. So if you can, click to the screen where everybody has their cameras off, or most people have their cameras off. Go to that screen. And
for those that are new to Zoom, there's a little arrow to the right, and you just have to hit like 2, 3, that kind of thing. Okay.
And yeah, depending on the size of your monitor, it'll be some number of screens. But just go to the area where most of the screens are off, the cameras are off, and pick one, and send them energy from your heart. Pick one. And then if you're listening to this and you have your camera off, see if you can feel that energy. And the magic would be if you have your camera on and you're looking at someone and they turn their camera on because they felt your radiance coming at them. Let's just, I mean, I don't know if it's real magic or a trick because I'm kind of suggesting it. So it might be the power of suggestion, but let's just try it. Pick somebody with their camera off and radiate energy to them. And if you're behind the off camera, if you feel it, turn your camera on. And if you're one of the people that turn their cameras on, really let yourself receive it. There's a lot of heart energy coming to you, and just allow yourself to take it in for a few moments, maybe from strangers.
When I'm in restaurants with Dan, or like a grocery store, he literally will find the person with, like, quote unquote, their camera off and do this. Wherever you are in the world, he finds ways to kind of open the window.
It's my specialty.
Okay.
Okay, we can go to the next step, Emily.
Okay. So, um, if you, hopefully you've got your, you know, your candle lit and you are with the resource. So just again, to kind of anchor that, we really like to call in that, like, light, so that the vibration, when I set intentions for a new year, that the vibration is infused with light, with radiance, with capacity, that we have the ancestors with resilience and survival present with us as you start to turn towards setting intentions and looking into the shadows. And this is just about vibration and entrainment, that the highest, the highest vibration in a space will hold the energetic. And so when you're going to introduce lower vibrations and discordant frequencies, it's good to kind of have something pulsing that's at a higher vibration. And all we're saying is, hey, we're going to look at you and we're going to invite you to the higher timeline, because we're going into a new year. We are the portal. This isn't always the case. Sometimes at the beginning of a constellation session, somebody's just sobbing. They walk in the door and they're like, we're in the trenches and we're only going up from there. But when you're choosing to be the portal, the wheel, the one who turns the year and transmutes, it's good to kind of lay the foundation with a high pulsing and training field and resource. So now we're going to invite in what we're looking at when we look at a new year. So we need representatives who are willing to hold a representation. Now, this is, you may not get asked to report. We may have you report, depends on timing and where we go. So if you can raise your electronic hand, there's a raise hand feature at the bottom, and we can just invite you in. And I'll just go with the beginning folks. So just we're going to need, I think, 9 that are here. Okay. All right, look at all these people. So everyone's got different lineup, I think, on their own screens. So Dan, why don't we go back and forth? Kristen, could you rename yourself to represent family and friends, developing and maintaining strong relationships with others? It could be family, friends, children, I don't know, relationships, you feel into it, but it's, family and friends, developing and maintaining strong relationships with others. So this is just an area of life that you're representing, Kristen.
And Yulia, could you represent for us finances? Change your screen name to finances, and especially with the feeling of being free to give and receive in abundance. So this is the kind of the open channel of finances, which is to be in healthy exchange.
Okay. Thinking of some new folks that I haven't seen in a while. Let's see. Elizabeth, can you represent physical environment? And this is feeding the senses with nourishing stimuli.
And Josh, you raised your hand to represent. Uh, could you represent for us health and nutrition? Really, it's health, but it includes nutrition, exercise, good self-care, good habits, healthy routines. So it's both health and the things that we can do. When we think of the new year, people are always like, "I'm going to get healthy this year. I'm gonna, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat better." All those things. The kind of the typical cliched New Year's desires around health that come up for people.
Okay, Brenda, can you represent fun and recreation, your commitment to play and creativity? Yeah, okay.
Um, Poppy, could you represent for us career? And again, this is that New Year's arc of engaging work that we find meaningful and that is that we are fulfilled in our work and career.
Monica, can you represent spiritual and personal growth, building a strong connection with oneself, body, mind, and spirit?
And Lori, would you be willing to represent romance? And this would be the intention that some people have around the New Year's, that they want a partnership, passion. So see if you can you be able to represent that for us. Good, thank you.
Let's see. And Kat, how about romance?
I just did romance, didn't I?
I'm so sorry. Well,
Cat,
maybe.
Cat, Cat can do romance too. We could have two romance.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm sorry. I was reading that. Okay. Well, then we need the person. Um, who is going to represent the person? Um, so I think I would probably have everyone lower their hands except those that are in representation. You might have to um, keep your hand up if you're in representation, if that's doable, or higher your hand. I think it's funny that romance stayed, cat still romance, um, without knowing it. And so maybe we need two for romance. That's just so funny. Um, okay. Let's see. Do we have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven? We're missing one, right?
Yeah, if you
Emily, it's Monica.
Okay. Hi.
Hey, I can't figure out how to change my screen
Oh,
name.
it's already changed. I changed it for you.
Thank you.
You're good. Okay, but I think there's one more that did we miss one, Dan?
no, I think we got everything. Uh I think somebody needs to who's representing can raise their hand again. If your hand got lowered, you can raise it again. I think is what happened.
Okay. All right, so then we need somebody who's going to have the like a constellation. It's going to be like representing the person, but we're all going to be connecting to you. It's like your constellation in relationship to these things. So who would like that to be them? Dan, you pick because I'm getting confused with the hands. I'm going to start spotlighting.
Of now, I'm lost.
Okay, so I'm gonna spotlight the folks, and then you're gonna pick somebody who is just representing the person.
Oh, because Kat's not doing it. Is that what happened?
Yeah, I think Cat is not. Cat is a romance.
Oh,
We've
okay. So we have two romance, and so we still need the person. Okay, I'm with you.
got it.
Okay. Um,
I messed up. My apologies for that. One, two, three, four, five, six.
um, Talus, can you represent the person?
Okay. Talis, can you raise? Here she is. Okay. Spotlight. Okay. I think because Cat, I'm just gonna recommend that you stay as romance. Um, it's like I just have to, for those that are here with romance as your intention, there's an idea that like the partner is out in the crowd, who you're going to be in relationship with. I mean, it's just like I can't spotlight 10 people, otherwise I would be spotlighting Kat. But Kat, if you could just stay as that romance who Lori's romance might be connecting with, as this alchemy occurs, that would be great. Does that feel okay for you, Dan?
Yes.
I always trust when there's confusion in the field, it's in service of what's happening.
Hmm.
Okay, so everybody can lower their hands at this point. We should have spotlighted, and hopefully on your screen you can all see the spotlights of the 9 people. Okay, so for those that have a lot of trinkets at home, you might choose to have these representations set up on your own tabletop. So you can move them around. Like if you imagine there's an object for family and friends, there's an object for meaningful work and career, there's an object for personal and spiritual growth. So like each of these objects that you see each of these people that you see on the screen might represent a tabletop constellation. And so we'll just take a couple minutes for those of you to kind of set up your trinkets. For those that aren't into objects, trust you didn't go gather a bunch of objects. That's not your thing right now. So you can just take a deep breath and kind of look at what's on the screen. But if you would like to have a tabletop, I would recommend picking one for romance, one for fun and recreation, one for physical environment, health, nutrition, self-care, finances, personal and spiritual growth, meaningful work, career, family and friends, and anything else that you think we've missed that you think needs to be on here. Kat, they would like you to raise your hand again so that you're easily found. But I think it's interesting that family and friends has asked you to do that. If you can just imagine that that one's family and friends is motivated to make sure that romance, your partner, is found. They're asking the partner in the sea of the universe to raise their hand so they can be easily found. So just, Kat, just feel as your representation if you are in a space where you could respond to the family and friends request that the hand gets raised. And how many of you have friends and family that are just like, I know somebody for you? Or can we just ask the universe to make that person a little more visible quickly?
It's like the exercise we just did of looking at somebody at the in the Zoom screen that doesn't know you're looking at them. That we are as we are looking for romance, partnership, passion. It's as if we are uh, extending our gaze out into the world and trying to touch uh, the body of the person who can embrace and hold us. And because the indoctrination tells us that vision only goes into our eyes, that's one of the great lies about vision that we've been convinced of, is that vision is one way. It travels from light into our eyes, and the vision occurs inside our brain. This is so basic to what we've been taught. And the idea that vision comes out of our eyes and that we see things where they actually are, how we actually experience vision, is that we don't see anything in our brains. We have no experience of vision being in our brains. So vision is out in the world. We see everything where it is. And that our vision extends from our eyes out to everything that we see. But we're not taught that. So when looking for romance between Kat's representative of romance, which is the romance that's out there, and Lori's representative romance, which is the romance that's looking, it makes it so difficult if we're looking, but the looking doesn't reach anywhere. But if we can take the looking and that the looking can actually touch the person we're looking at, it really improves the whole process of romance. Gets immediately elevates, it gets so much better if we think that our romantic gaze touches the person we're looking at. Just like the little magic trick that we just did. So that's my little riff on that.
Okay, so you can just feel the movement as like we welcome the wheel of life. Just notice what's moving in your body, in your heart, in your mind, in your soul. Just like feel the energy pick up and change. If you have objects, just make sure there's an object for you. That you are also in this constellation. So Talis is representing the person, but the person is each one of us. So add an object that is an object, this that holds you, and place it on the tabletop with all these other objects that represent the different aspects of life. For those that have just joined, that are still joining, we have a tabletop constellation, and we've just set up, we're beginning to set up representatives for the constellation on the screen. And my guess is some of you who are representing are already in it. So before we ask for those to begin to report, I just want to, or to step into the field, I just want to offer a little bit of orientation. When we look through the eyes of generational alchemy, of science, myth, and magic, of seeing with your heart, I'm looking at personal spiritual growth, not just as an area to seed an intention in my own life, but I'm looking at it with a lineage within me. How does my mom and my dad attend personal and spiritual growth? How does my grandparents or great-grandparents? How about the ancient hearths that have lived in the origins of my lineage, or the lands my ancestors come from? What are some of the practices that are there? And then how in this living, breathing body that is mine can I connect to what is resonant, what's coherent, and transmute what's actually out of alignment? What is squeezing the life force or the juice out of that area of my life? So we're doing that with each one of these areas, is actually looking at it systemically, not just looking at it as a topic of like self-help and personal transformation. So when we've just asked you to place objects, we're inviting in the lineage associated with each topic and its relationship to you. So your room may feel full in this moment. And in some ways, I think New Year's is that way. It can get really full, or solstice, or times that we collectively are conditioned to set intentions and turn time. It can get really full with a lot of energy. So we want to invite the representatives to just feel your feet on the ground. If you feel comfortable standing, you might stand. And drop in. For those that are, some of you may be brand new to representing, this is not role play. This is actually becoming the consciousness of what you're holding. Just letting it channel through you. And you can feel if you're close to one or another on the screen, who are you connected with? Who are you repulsed by? What's your relationship to the person on the screen, whose constellation on some level this is? Each of us are representing in the field where Talus stands. We are all the person. But feel your relationship to that person. And as you look at the people on the screen, if you're representing in the crowd as the person, you might just notice which ones you're closer to, which ones you're further away from, and adjust your objects on the table. Where are you comfortable? Where do you feel distant?
In a world where every human being is offered the opportunity to have a human experience that this planet Earth created for us. It's been 3.5 billion orbits around the sun to create your lived experience of being a human being. Evolution started with just an exchange of energy on the surface of the ocean. And that was 3.5 billion years ago. And 1 billion years ago, those organisms created sexual reproduction. 1 billion years of sexual reproduction. And all to create your life form. All these generations of great apes and then humans. So if you just take away the part where humans have ruined it for ourselves and just be what evolution has gifted to us, and be that person, personal and spiritual growth, what's available, physical environment, the planet Earth, romance, 1 billion years of sexual reproduction that makes us attractive to other people, that wants to embrace, to hold, to be with, to love. Fun and recreation, play and creativity, healthy exchange between giving and receiving, family and friends, health and self-care because we take care of our bodies and our bodies take care of us, and meaningful work that supports our survival and the survival of others. how easy it would be if every human had a human experience that evolution created for us. And the representatives just feel that, feel evolution behind you. Feel the force of evolution, the rotation of day and night, and the rotation of the seasons and the years. And just allow yourself to embody what's available for every human, if humans were able to have a human experience. And the person, drink it in. The potential, evolution's potential, the Earth's potential, the universe's potential for us.
After you've organized your objects and these representatives have stood in, just notice when you look at the order of where things are, where's their flow and ease, and where is there an entanglement? Where's there an inherited burden or a challenge? A pattern that's revealing itself. And it might take these reports to kind of get us more of a sense of what's here, but just begin to identify, if I were to focus on mobility and moving the wheel of life, where is there stuckness? And then where do you feel the light of the universe coursing through you? You're in complete alignment with the embodied blueprint you came to live. Just notice the pulse and the difference in those aspects of your life, and let yourself be resourced by where there's flow as we look at the areas there's stuckness. Can we get reports, Dan, do you think?
Just give me one more minute, Emily. Get reports. I just want to make room before, the actual human experience, that there's a potential human experience, but also, that there's that person and the turn of the New Year's resolution as you're looking, where are the places where we're not in the potential, but, the actuality for all of the ways that we yearn for some aspect of these things that we're not feeling as our experience. And so just to give space to both.
So to do that, I might invite you to stand. If you're watching and you're not being spotlighted right now, let yourself be, just like Talus, be the person. Join the constellation. You might stand up in your environment and put yourself, imagine these people are standing in a room with you, and they're representing all the different aspects of your life. If you were to move around the board, where would you be? And just follow your flow, follow your feet, and join the constellation. And for those that are representing, just feel what it's like as all these humans begin to mix in with you. I think we forget that when we start to turn towards career, we activate all the ancestors in relationship with us around our career, in the imprinting of our cells, and in the wider multiverse of communication. So feel what it's like for them as you start to think about stepping in a deeper way, transmuting patterns. You're having a dialogue, consciously or unconsciously. You're bonding, consciously or unconsciously. When you file for bankruptcy, who are you remembering? Whose trauma are you recreating in your life to heal it? So just drop in, join the constellation, Feel yourself in the mix. Ready for reports, Dan?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll invite those that feel ready to share to just like 1 or 2 sentences, just a short report, and speaking, with I statements about like what you're feeling, what you're experiencing, what's alive for you.
Family and friends is ready to report. And at first I felt like a big hug, like a physical manifestation of a big hug. And then I got very hot. And then I started to feel like I needed support. Like I needed to put something under my back and like something to support me. And I was immediately infatuated with cat romance, and I love cat's hair. And like, and then I was upset when the person wasn't paying attention to me. I feel like I need a lot of attention. But like, and then the closer the person got to the screen, I became happier. And I want the person even closer to me. Meaningful work, I'm intimidated by. Like she's going to take something away from me. And health, looking at health just makes me feel really heavy. And health looks very serious. And I don't like looking at health. Oh, and Lori romance, I don't like her agitation. The rocking looks very agitating. It like looks like agitation to me, and I don't like that. I'm worried about that.
Good. Thank you. So you might recognize the voices of your family in this, as friends and families report, that the family comes in very expansive and embracing, and then they share what it is that from their perspective.
Just
Uh,
say again, I need a lot of attention.
Or did you want me to say that?
mhm,
Feels right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I need loads of attention. I want all of the attention.
mhm.
And I'm intimidated by your work.
And I'm intimidated by your work,
Hard for me to look at your health.
and it's hard for me to look at your health.
And I'm sort of judging your romance. You know, I don't
But
know. That's
I'm I'm judging your romance, but I'm also fascinated and enthralled. So yeah, at the same time.
perfect. It's
Mhm.
complicated.
Right.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Next report.
I can speak. Um, I've been feeling very, very relaxed, almost feeling high, actually. Um, and I really am drawn to meaningful work. And I'm mostly neutral to everybody else, but I'm kind of annoyed by romance and that she's kind of whiny and weepy. Um, and I don't know if it happens because family and friends spoke, but I started feeling this burden inside my belly, like something that I want to expel. Um, yeah, it's time to go.
Can we hear from the person?
So I felt like a real privilege actually to have all these elements at my fingertips for this year. And it really felt, I have a tabletop thing and I put myself at the center, which was quite interesting, in a big object and I thought I can do whatever I want with all these different elements. But I really, and that was a little bit took me up and out of my body. And I was getting very attracted to fun and recreation as a bit of a distraction. But my partner actually, through this, because I wanted a partner, is my personal spiritual growth. And then I could feel centered. And I had completely not seen physical environment. But when I looked at her, then I realized, then I came right into my body and everything started to relax. And so these are my two allies: spiritual growth, personal environment. The romance thing just, yeah, I got confused between two different people and I didn't hear Dan's riff. And I thought I would just like let that see where it goes. But I really want to be attracted to work, but work looks quite far away. I wish she'd come a lot closer to the screen so I could see her, but she's far. I thought finances look cool, you know, she just looks so serious, very official, very neutral. But I need the connection. The connection's not clear yet.
Right, thank you. Any other reports?
I'd like to report play and creativity. As I became embodied, I adopted a really wide stance with my legs, and my knees are kind of bent, and I'm really feeling very grounded and very earthed and immensely expansive. I anticipated feeling, before I stepped in, I thought I would feel light and floaty, but I don't. I'm really connected to the depth and the bigness of things. And I'm not really interested in anybody except the person. I'm very drawn to the person. But I feel like I exist in the spaces between people. And I'm not interested in everyone talking so much. Words are making me feel impatient. I just wish everybody would kind of connect without words. And I'm also aware that there's like a really deep sensual aspect to creativity and play. And maybe it's even connected to sexuality. So in general, I feel like fizzy inside as well. And just like I'm big and I'm grounded, but fizzy and excited.
So just taking a deep breath in and deep breath out. And as these reports come in, noticing the objects on your tabletop and feel if they move. As she says, I'm not looking at anybody else, just you. What would it be like for your play and creativity to just look at you? For your sensuality and sexuality to just make eye contact with the object that is yours. Or the reps here to look at one another. See one another with all this, the rest of it drowned out. She's the space in between. Just welcoming that creative life force that brought you into form. Other reports.
I think I'd like to report is physical environment. The most significant thing that happened was when Dan brought in feel the evolution behind you. And I was feeling very grounded and connected to fun and recreation. And when that came in behind me, it hit me like a wave. And I became nauseated and I started moving. There's a lot of change in that when I feel that.
Thank you.
When you feel yourself moving, where do you move?
I'm almost moving in a figure 8, actually.
Thank you.
As romance, I initially felt very fluid and just with this beautiful energy all through me. And then as I started feeling into that, I came into heartbreak and all these generations of, lost partners or, babies that didn't survive. And then I went back as we were talking, Dan was talking about, the birth of the human species. And I was back in the cave and just this beautiful connection between all the beings in the cave and just how lovely it would be if we could release the walls between us and be back in the cave together and let romance flow as love between us all.
Anyone else want to report?
Yeah, I'd like to report as personal and spiritual growth, feeling this moment to moment presence, a choice, and really thinking about how challenging it seemed from the time I was a child to understand what that really meant. And once I started letting go in that moment to moment space into the more to be revealed, into the self-love, the more I felt the personal and spiritual growth.
Thank you.
Can each person add a representative to their altar, to this space on the table of their inner child? And then it may be an object for self-love. At this point, you may be beginning to feel some intensity in your body, because we're going to look at this systemically. We're just going to step it back in time. So we're going to ask for any closing reports from this space before we step back, but just recognize that as children, as adults, as seekers, we vibrate. We pick up the harmonic vibrations in an unconscious bonding for survival. Mom, I'll feel your pain. And then I'll go on your quest for personal growth. For me to literally grow. I'll take it in. I'll feel it. And then I'll explore it. Dad, I'll be the success you couldn't be. I'll make it my task to make you proud. Whatever your story is, somewhere we lose that pathway to self-love and we become bonded in this unconscious attachment love to the person who needs our light into the darkest shadows of where maybe they can't look. So just welcoming your self-love at the same time that your child self comes in as your personal and spiritual growth claims their legs, their stance, their strength, their sovereignty, their potency, their capacity at this time in their life. Many of us are, have done this work and are well beyond. And yet at New Year's, solstice, Samhain, all the different rituals, the whole chorus of consciousness arrives again to invite us to look a little deeper at where we're unconsciously bonding in love, in loyalty, in blessings to those we came from. Any other reports? Meaningful work, career, and then health, nutrition, and self-care.
I think health is unmuted. You want to go first?
Sure. Being new to this experience, although familiar with everything we're talking about and moved by it, as in this space of health, nutrition, and self-care, I and I had a bunch of crystals and rocks on the table, started to feel really a lot of sadness and gratitude, a lot for ancestors further away, as well as, my mother, and then new people, newer people, and my wife, my children, all seeing, whoa, what a line of connection there is to that, as well as my own journey with this, and felt probably most drawn to personal and spiritual growth, and really love the rocking that I still see.
Thank you. And meaningful work?
So it was interesting that the person said that they, I was too far away, because I felt the same about the person at the beginning, but she seemed to come into more clarity as the time's gone by. And the same with romance. They both seemed kind of dark and indistinct. They look like they're in the same room. It's saying, it looks like I've done talking, so we'll lower your hand. Oh, I didn't know whether to put my hand up or down. I mean, down or not. And then I was annoyed by fun coming in too quickly. And I was sort of fascinated by health and nutrition's dog coming in and out of focus. And then finances is like, yay, I'm so glad to see you. Really happy to see her. And family and friends, yeah, also I was quite annoyed by family and friends and what she was saying. And I just see health and nutrition like right in the middle, sort of quite like the biggest on the screen. And I didn't understand anything that personal growth said.
So meaningful work and career. Can you unmute again and just look at the person?
Yeah.
And just feel the distance that you both resonate with between the two of you. And yet it's the same time the kind of request. And I'm just going to ask you to just really presence what is meaningful work for this soul. And then as you drop into presence and you go beyond what she does, what she's done, what her skills and expertise are, what is the depth of the seed of this? And when you drop in, you might find yourself with the lineage of work, but go deeper. And when you drop in a bit deeper, can you see family and friends, fun and recreation, or personal and spiritual growth differently? Do they take a different energy, or are they still of no annoyance to you?
Family and friends looks more less annoying. And then who were the other ones who were annoying me?
Fun and creativity and pure personal and spiritual growth.
Actually, they're okay when they're not speaking. But the person also looks way more, I feel way more connected to the person right now. Like I went into her, and it was really profound.
So can I say to you, work, that my spiritual growth is my guide?
Mm.
She guides me in my work. She brings fulfillment to my work.
Tell her she comes first.
She comes first.
You're second.
You're second.
And this is a paradigm shifting bend in my lineage.
And this is a paradigm shifting bend in my lineage.
And just as you look at work, feel the ancestors you're speaking to. And just tell them you're welcome to join me.
You're welcome to join me.
But
And sorry?
But we follow her.
But we follow her. And this time we're bringing some fun and creativity.
Okay. In this year, there will be play and creativity. Yeah.
In this year, there will be play and creativity.
Yeah, that's fine, but I don't like personal and spiritual growth being in the first position.
Look at personal and spiritual growth, just started giving a thumbs up. I don't know if you did that on purpose or it just happened. I have this tendency in my, because I see your hands are like this, I'm like, she didn't just do that. It's, I find that the field can hack the electronics now with AI, that those things just happen. Dan, is there more you want to say before we step back? I just want to.
No, I'm interested in and stepping back. The thing I'm noticing is that for the person, that as we step back, if we go back, grandparents, great grandparents, and we go beyond that, people they didn't really have a lot of agency to deal with this. 4 generations ago, 80% of the humans on the planet just devoted themselves to finding food, just farming. I mean, that's what most people did. They either farmed or they mined or they worked in factories or they were domestics. That covered the vast number of humans. And if you were the child of a farmer, you would likely spend your life as a farmer. And romance, fun, finances were not your personal responsibility. It's not every January you had to figure it out from scratch and then reference what am I doing wrong? A lot of this was taken care of. When we come down today, there's 2 default paths. Either people are alone, like doing this by themselves, or they are locked into some bigger group that kind of takes care of it all, that kind of dictates the terms. And so we can give up our personal agency and go into some larger group structure that tells us the answers to all of this, and we just kind of follow those answers. But when we engage in our body and see with your heart to become aware of the eternal nature of our body and our mind, our soul, that we are navigating through this human experience with personal and spiritual growth as our guide, that person is actually not looking, I'm assuming the person engaging with personal spiritual growth is not looking for all the answers to be given to them by spiritual growth. They're actually looking to be resourced to be able to find the answers for themselves. And so this is a kind of middle path that 2025 has allowed us, that we don't have to farm, we don't have to work in factories just to survive. We actually have some agency. But we need to resolve some things that are in our body from the older traumas, and we need to be able to better connect to the spiritual resources that are available to us. And if we can do that, it can actually lighten our load a little bit and fill us with a little bit more light to be able to enter the challenges of the year to come with less weight and more radiance.
Hey, Dan. I was wondering if Kat could report as romance.
Oh, great idea.
So just notice for those that are seeding the intention for love in 2025, for the partner out in the universe to be seen, heard, included, it requires you to ask to hear from them. So I'm just naming that your romance just asked to hear from the potential partner out in the sea of the ocean of people who's like already been selected for this constellation. Kat, can you report?
Yeah, I've been like working my altar, my object constellation over here, and so I'm like doing my thing. I'm very engaged in like my personal growth and evolution, and really curious about what's happening in the constellation for the person. I felt really drawn in to romance, especially as she talked about going back to the cave where we can kind of be in relation to all of life and be in connection with like a kind of larger pulse of life, and kind of bring that feeling of love and connection into all of our relations. I felt like that's so resonant. I want that too. I want I want like love infused in every, kind of wing of life, and all of these different representations. So I think, and I've been kind of just on the sidelines and looking in and popping over here, and so I feel really grateful to get to be part of the piece here with the person, and for romance to be curious about me. So thank you.
Great, thank you. So I think we can. Well, we want to step back the representations. This is
So we're going to identify first the core shadow. If there was one space that you, in looking here, you were to pick one area where you feel the kind of the rain cloud or the tangled knot, the space where you don't quite have flow, just identify that. And if you have that object, you might even hold it in your hand or can arrange your constellation on the tabletop. For those that are more experienced, you know how to work with these practices a little bit more fluently. Feel free to identify the block, the restriction, the burden. For those that are newer, you might just hold that object in your hand. Just noticing where there's flow, where there's an entanglement, where there's a block. And our question, rather than going like, I'm going to try differently this new year, I'm going to hire a new coach and I'm going to sign up for the next big thing or whatever it is, I'm going to have a daily practice around this. Let's include the ancestors in the untangling. So let's pick up that object and lift it in our awareness and go into the shadows and the entanglements. So we'll hold that or set it up on your field to kind of illustrate where the entanglement is, where there's a block, a bound, a binding, where you are carrying something that was inherited. And just hold it in your hand. We'll take one step back. And we're going to step into the field of your parents. back to you, Dan. I just wanted to presence this for some of the, people that are
Okay.
brand new on the call.
Right. So as you feel that, just you're stepping back into the weight of the world. And you can feel, is that heavier on your mother's place, or is it heavier in your father's place?
If you're adopted, you can be with adopted families or birth families, but often the cellular memory we're working with is biologically inherited. You might be with sperm donors or egg donors, surrogates. Just be with whatever comes present as you step back into the field you've inherited, where you're unconsciously bonded. This New Year's.
Mm-hmm. The weight of the world is often felt in the body. That's where the gravity is. The gravity is what holds, keeps the bottoms of our feet attached to the earth, is gravity. So we often feel that weight through our bodies. And our bodies are inherited genetically. And if you make contact with that parent, you could take another step back.
When I stand here, I can feel both. So I'm just going to include both. And as I step back, I'm with both.
Mm-hmm.
So stepping back into grandparents. It's going to get more intense as you step back often, and then less intense.
And you're beginning to feel how what your New Year's resolution is now could be 100 years old. Could be something that has been felt and carried for a long time before you existed.
So just notice when you look at personal and spiritual growth, she takes her book with her. She stands back, but she's recording. We are record keepers. We are living record keepers. We carry the records. We carry the high timelines and the low timelines. Some of our ancestors stopped. They laid down. They gave up. They resigned. They lived in the field of a discordant, painful loop, and yet the high timeline, the optimal potential of their heart is also here. So when you stand with your grandmother, you might feel her fate and you might feel her dreams. When you stand with your grandfather, you might feel his broken heart, his alcoholism, his physical or sexual abuse towards family members. And you also might feel the soul of that young boy before he became a soldier. So just allow yourself to be with the dreams of your ancestors and you. And just notice we just lost the person. And this is what happens. She just is not on the screen. Disconnected. And our life force, as we step into the field of their burdens and we start vibrating with them, we sort of lose connection to our blueprint, to our place. And we end up swimming in this sea, like taken out to sea, losing our own ground. When we seed our intentions, we're seeding a chorus of consciousness, stepping back to great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. And if I were you at this point, I would just allow yourself to step back a generation and feel, does my physical symptoms intensify or lessen? Do I feel heavier or lighter? At some point, you'll start to feel a little bit lighter. Let yourself stand with those resources when you feel a little lighter, like the ones before the trauma. I can feel self-care in Eastern Europe before the persecutions of the Jews. I actually can feel that when I go all the way back, but there's many generations where it just feels heavy. Self-care puts you at risk of death.
As that portal opens up, you can start to allow the light of the universe to also come in to join the weight of the world. We see it with personal and spiritual growth. that shaft of light coming in right on cue. And it's behind finances as well, and behind fun and recreation as well, and behind physical environment. The light of the universe is always present, along with the weight of the world. These are the two great forces that combine to form light. The planet and the star. Gravity and light.
This is actually where the person comes back. She's now back on the screen. And in some ways, this is our quest. This is our journey. We don't just unconsciously bond to our family's trauma, recreating it as a fractal universe. We do it to reconnect to the infinite light, to restore what's been disconnected. And so you come back. Our family is our training ground for our deepest blueprint. Where'd you go, person? What happened for you?
So my call just dropped off. I thought the whole of Zoom had gone, but it was just me, it seemed.
And when you came back, what did you hear?
It was about going further back to great grandparents and looking for the healing point before the trauma.
Okay. So can you, when you look at the screen, where do you see that healing point?
The most stability I see is in finances.
Okay. And finance is what's happening for you as you step back.
Yeah, I could feel that the trauma was related to the loss of safety and sustenance, and that it's okay to let it go.
And when you drop into the historical infinite finances, can you feel what's there? In the imprinting before the trauma of the loss of safety and security, what was there?
It's this number 8, this constant movement and exchange.
Right. Can you tell?
There's no frozenness in that place. There's just constant.
Can you tell her I'm the infinite flow in your body?
I'm the infinite flow in your body.
In the genetic imprinting.
In the genetic imprint. And I'm also the sex.
That's the exchange.
The giving and the taking.
It's the essential movement of life. Is that toroidal movement of that infinite figure 8.
We don't have time for everyone to report, but if the reps have anything that they want to say, you can type it into the chat screen. But I'm just going to give a closing movement. All the reps can just look at each other and notice the reps on your tabletop. Let them look at each other, just see one another. And then from this place, like the way we draw a thread from far back all the way up, and it weaves a shawl, it weaves a tapestry. You kind of need the original thread for the whole thing to stay together. Let yourself be the weaver. And weave the thread of the infinite resource all the way up to the present time. You can step it forward And for everyone watching, you can step it forward. Just calling it forward and letting it in. Letting into your body, into your cells. Let it weave like a figure eight through the infinite flow of energy. Coming back to the present space, being with the twinkles and the bells. The elemental fairies and shimmer of 2025. Coming into present time and sending the energy forward to the generations of children, of unborn babies, of land, of light. Sound and light is a carrier of vibration, so you can hold your intention and send it through the pulse of sound into your body, into the circle, into the wider collective, and it will carry, it will transmute and travel.
"2025 has the potential of being a year of a lot of turmoil and upheaval and disruption. That's how it's being advertised. And every human is having a human experience, whether they're a mother in Gaza or in Chad or London or Vancouver. All we really have is a human experience. And this mix between the weight of the world and the light of the universe. Evolution gave us that, every one of us. And we can contribute the most to all of it when we are in flow with evolution. When we can see through the illusions of the advertisements, which actually deny our humanity first. It doesn't solve any problems to reclaim our humanity, but it's the best place to start.
Seeing the representatives in the sea of people that are here, letting them belong to you and your constellation. And if you have objects on your tabletop, any final movements that help to restore the flow of love between you and the other. And what we would recommend going forward from here is just to welcome in, maybe today, tomorrow, in this week, some collective representations. Take whatever movement you just offered and offer it to humanity's transition. That recognizing that the energy you transmute in yourself can ripple into the collective energies or archetypes. As I ally with the spirit of fire, what am I priestessing in the wider world? What am I calling in? and how to ripple that energy into our wider collective. And it first starts with us finding our own stance. So complete whatever you've begun, and then maybe add an object for humanity or the recipients of what will ripple forward. I know when I choose a no tolerance practice in my life, I will not tolerate low vibrational frequencies being projected upon me when I hold that, or I'm not going to tolerate stress related working. I will then find my clients in the next few weeks start talking about wanting to transmute their relationship to stress or the relationship to entraining to people's judgments of them. So just simply by me seeding an intention, it impacts those that are in my influence or orbit. So dare to add an object that says, okay, as I agree to this movement in myself, I'm also sending that energetic into the hearts of those recipients that want to evolve with you. Completing any movements for your own representations, and let's thank those of you that represented. Thank you so much. You can rename yourself back. There's 3 little dots in the top right corner of your little square, and you can, just rename yourself back to what you were before you became health or, what was there. And let's release representations, shake them out of our bodies.
And you could let this constellation continue to move. You can keep what's on your tabletop, keep it active, see how it wants to move, and support you. When we are able to see, acknowledge, and honor the suffering of the ancestors that contributed to our existence, it actually eases their suffering, and the suffering in our body can dissolve. And when we're able to receive the light of the universe that is penetrating us, even in our darkest moments, it's always there. As long as we have breath and life, as long as the waters are moving in our body, the light of the universe is fully with us, and it's never diminished. It can only be covered, but it's always there. Our soul is always with us in all its strength, in every moment.
I'm going to hold up the fire again. We welcome you to gather around the various hearths that we have created for 2025. And in closing, we're gonna blow out the gifts that came from 2024, or you might use your fingers to touch it out, but to kind of hold in your heart with gratitude that which you are transmuting, that personal and spiritual growth you have done since your soul said, yes, I will incarnate into this family clan, this training ground for my life's evolution. Just let yourself really recognize all that you've done to arrive to this moment, to be here. We have a trip to South Africa in May. We're offering new workshops in Massachusetts, January 19th. There's 2 courses coming up, Science, Myth, and Magic and Generational Alchemy. So we hope you will join us either energetically or physically around the hearth. Send your intentions. We'll connect in the ley lines of magic. And let's continue through 2025. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Let the smoke carry the transformation welcoming the field of air. I like to scry into the smoke and really see the patterns it's showing me.
Emily put some links in the chat if you see them. If you're interested, go ahead and click on them for more information. The live work in South Africa is going to be life transformative for anyone that comes. I can't recommend that enough. It's actually about half the cost of the typical type of trip. It's still a little pricey, of course, to do 12 days in South Africa, but it is going to be deeply nourishing to be with the earth and the light in the place where humanity originated hundreds of thousands of years ago, and the land still remembers and is still supporting the people who live on it. And it will be a gift to walk those footsteps where humans have been walking since the very beginning. And if jet travel to another continent is not your thing, you can join us online or our local events as well. But really great to see you and hope to see you again soon in any way you want to be with us. I love the community, and anytime we get together, it's always magical.
Happy New Year, everyone. And please message us on the social media platforms so we can hear more about your rituals and your intentions and begin to stoke them together. Blessings in the new year.
Blessings. Thank you.
Safe travels, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.